Hello and welcome, it's me, LinkingX2, back again with the draft review of game number 2 between T1 and Nongqing. So, if you have seen the 70-minute thriller that we went through just a couple minutes ago, T1 managed to get an early lead with their scaling comp. But then, some misfortunes happened and they lost a few team fights in a row, resulting in their base getting completely demolished. And then, we saw 40 minutes of tower defense gameplay, which was quite interesting and it was quite exciting to say the least. But Nongqing always having the leg up in the game state due to the range advantage that their comp has, as I mentioned, and obviously them getting the first access to the global objectives, and with the changes over the years to Baron and Elder, base defenses have become more and more difficult. So now, after this very exhausting loss T1 has faced, are they able to come back in game number 2, and equalize the series 1-1? Let's take a look at the bans at the moment. You see them down there. Varus, Akali and Illusion are being locked away from T1 side, so they're again on the blue side, and for the first time in eons, they're not banning the Renekton. And as by the way, with the same bans, but let's go back to the T1 bans again. So the Varus now being banned away. Obviously, Dokdam having a huge performance with the champion. But to be honest, I don't think Dokdam played excruciatingly well with him. I think it's just that Varus in later stages against the team comp T1 has. I mean, Senna and Aze obviously famously weak against the champion. It's just he's gapping them thematically right with his champion so hard. And of course, he landed his skill shots later on, but early game was quite bad. Carrier showed him who the real carrier is. T1 here locking in the Rumble. First here for Cast. Obviously, there's a huge gap in the jungle at the moment. Rumble is just by far the best jungler. Other champions like Udyr, Nocturne, what else do we see there from time to time? Nidalee, Volibear, they're not up to par with the speed and the strength that Rumble has in the skirmishes, and his ultimate, it's just completely broken. The cooldown on the ability, like 30 seconds or something, it's just insane that you can spam it like twice in team fight. It's wow. And as here locking in the set that Kara used proficiently in game number 1 for Kellen, maybe. Obviously, Set can go in nearly all positions besides the jungle and the AD carry position. Nocturne being locked in again, probably for Rich, so this would mean Set goes either for Gory or for Kellen. We can only speculate. T1 locking in the feared Renekton that, well, they fear and are banning away every day. So they obviously value the pick quite highly. They say it's a very powerful pick, and now they got their hands on it, so they must feel quite happy. Besides the Renekton, they're also looking in the Viego. So they have a lot of flex picks potential, right? Rumble can go from top to mid. Renekton also top mid. Viego, same thing. So they can flex their entire top quadrant of the map. And as looking in the Diana, so they're also continuing with flex picks. We don't know anything at this point, really. We can speculate, right? Diana most likely going into the jungle, Nocturne most likely going into the top lane position, and Set then probably going into the bot lane position. But so far we can't really say anything with any certainty. We can look at the bans here. Senna being banned away from Teddy, so another ban against the AD carry of T1, the general down there. Sadly, Senna does get gapped by range because her advantage, her auto attacks are still very slow. So even with the 1000 range or something she had in the game, she wasn't really able to out the DPS or out damage the Varus Qs from afar. They still have longer range than her, and a Varus Q still does more damage than one auto attack that Senna can do. And Senna with her slow auto attack animation needs more time to really ramp up the damage, even with the Rage Blade. So there's there was this issue. Continuing with the other bans, the Tahm Kench also is going away. Tahm Kench obviously, Kellen had a huge impact, often protecting Dr. and Gory in these team fights, and yeah, adding more protection to them. Here he's being banned away from carrier most likely. So yeah, on the other side, the Tristana and the Karma, again, T1 banning that out. I mean, this time it makes more sense because the Rumble is in their hands and you don't want to face the Karma if you have the Rumble on your side. The Tristana ban is is quite interesting. Tristana obviously a fierce mid laner into these melee bruisers. She's really devastating there. So that's that. Then the Leona being picked here for NS. I'm not a fan of that. You could have picked your AD carry here and then still had the potential with the set support being a flex pick, or like you could nearly still flex everything, right? Nocturne can go into the jungle, Diana can go also in the mid lane. That is still possible. And the way it looks like we are going to get the Jinx Thresh bot lane here for T1. We still don't know where Renekton, Viego and Rumble are going, but we're going to figure that out just shortly after. The Jinx Thresh bot lane obviously very, very powerful. Problem here is that that NS with the set Nocturne, Diana, Leona and the Kai'Sa, they have so much dive. They just go right into there, and even if Thresh has his R, his E and his W to protect the Jinx, that's not enough. That's absolutely not enough. But luckily for T1, they still have 3 other threats in their comp. So even if Teddy dies, they have other threats to carry team fights. Of course, in the late game, the Jinx damage will be the most relevant. But Jinx also has some nice targets to hit. So for the resets here with the Jinx and the Viego, there's a lot of explosive pop-off potential. So now 18 seconds on the timer means everything is locked in the right place. Now we can talk about the matchups. Viego versus Nocturne obviously goes quite nicely into Viego's favor. Still a very, very strong champion. And I think, Rich will be comfortable with taking the same approach for this game than the last one. In the last one, he was more of a frontliner with the tank-focused build. Now he has a target to dive into, the Jinx here, of course, but still nothing really too much pressure on him. Diana versus Rumble in the jungle, nothing special either. We have seen that quite a bit. Again, we have AP and AD top duos and mid duos this time as well. So no AP mid and AP jungle shenanigans, right? Renekton versus Set in the mid lane. To be honest, with the shorter lane, this could be quite interesting. Obviously, this matchup is something we see quite commonly into the top lane. Depending on the player skills, we have seen either player or either champion come out on top. So, of course, with my bias against Faker, I have to say that Renekton is going to win this easily. And in the bot lane, we saw it in game number 1, where Dr. and Callum had the better bot lane in terms of champions, right? Varus, as I mentioned, famously countering Senna. And here again, Kai'Sa and Leona, very explosive, but I think Teddy Carrier, they have this in the bank. They're just so insanely good. That's the problem with T1. Their players are so good individually, but it seems like the team play, there's an issue there. Maybe they're trying new communication setups or something. Their mid-game transitions into the late game are looking quite bad. We saw this in game number 1 and also in the series against Live Sandbox. So evaluating the team comps here overall, I think T1 will have the pressure in the lanes again. And with Rumble, they also have this time the more pressuring jungler instead of the Gragas. So yeah, T1 looking fine from early mid, and with the late game champions Viego, Rumble and Jinx having also a nice transition into the very late stages. But that all of that doesn't really matter, because in this game it's not a really front to back composition here from NS. They're really just front, right? Everyone in, everyone trying to get to the Jinx to slaughter her. Obviously, it's Jinx really likes people coming into her. So does Renekton, so does Rumble, and Well, I'm not really sure about Viego and team fights either. I've seen him being more hit or miss as a champion in pro play so far, so I'm not really sure how like a normal game state Viego would deal with an S team comp. So sadly, I can't say too much against that. I would assume that he's benefiting from the resets that are bound to come in when all these champions pile into them, and the Rumble, Renekton, Jinx damage pile up and shred through the NS lineup. But also NS really, they have the tools to wombo combo. They have the tools to one shot. So they're well equipped. So again, from standard approach, I would give T1 the edge because I think their comp is more reliable in what they're going to do. But certainly, looking at them, looking at the game one, looking at the prior games, they're bound to make mistakes again, sadly. So I think NS with their team comp, they have everything they need to punish these mistakes. So this game, it's a very close draft approach here. I will again give the edge to T1 because I think their champions are very powerful in the meta at the moment, and NS champions are they're just a tier below in comparison. So yeah, just from this tiny bit, again a tiny edge to T1. This time they have range advantage on their side. Problem is if T1 has to engage into NS, they don't really have the engage tools to do that, but they have the range to siege well up onto them, so that would be something. But these sieges obviously are also a problem because NS then has the potential to counteract and to fight near their turrets with their more short range champions. So yeah, I would give the